I'm Erika Christensen, and you're watching Art 101 with Mr. Burgher on Judy Chicago.
Art 101 with Mr. Burgher.
Thank you, Ms. Christensen, for that nice introduction, and welcome back, scholars, to another episode of Art 101 with me, Mr. Burgher. Now, I'm a professional artist, master educator, attempting to bring you the best in art historical content. I love any interactions with the video. I appreciate all my subscribers, and I'd love for you to join the ranks if you're not already.
Don't fall asleep.
So I'm out here in the studio today, and I'm cleaning up a few things and getting ready to move into some new spaces and do some different things out here. And as I do that, as I'm kind of fiddling around, I run into books. You know, when you clean up and you organize things, or you move, there's no telling what you'll find. I've done enough moving around to know that most of the things that I'm going to find I've found, but occasionally I'll run across something that really makes me start thinking about something else. And today I've been thinking and running across quite a few things that deal with female artists and women's role in art, and Judy Chicago is right up there at the top of the list in terms of contemporary artists that are really doing some things in terms of females leading the charge and being a voice for other females to really be able to get into it. And she's revolutionary and influential. So today what I want to do is give her a little bit of recognition on my own and kind of tell you a little bit about the art of Judy Chicago.
Born Judy Cohen in Chicago, Illinois, the feminist, artist, author, educator, and intellectual that we know as Judy Chicago would become a world-recognized artist by simply taking a stand on issues and communicating her opinions, as well as her findings after intensive research. From a very young age, she was very interested in studying and improving as an artist.
From the time I was a little girl and started studying art, I wanted not only to be an artist, but I wanted to make a contribution to art history.
And she would further her studies post-secondarily at the University of California in Los Angeles.
When I was in graduate school, my painting instructors hated my sense of color. They also hated my imagery, which was very naturally biomorphic and kind of female-centered. They used to say, "Ugh, wombs and breasts!" Like that was the worst thing that could possibly be on a canvas, but they hated my color. I got my master's in both painting and sculpture. Right. So I've gone back and forth in my career between 2 and 3 dimension, and for me, like some of my best work is where there's a fusion between them, like Rainbow Picket.
By 1964, she had her MFA and really began to push the boundaries of the female figure because she found that the professors and academics really had a hard time with female anatomy and feminist subject matters embedded in the artworks.
But when I got out of graduate school, I went to Audio Body School, me and 250 guys. And they made me wear this white, long shop coat because God forbid I should bend over when I'm spraying, and one of them saw a titty. Nonetheless, I learned a lot at Audio Body School. I learned about a respect for craft. I learned how to tape properly. Nobody ever thinks about that. So, I was learning about a whole different kind of aesthetic. And from the beginning, I got interested in fringe techniques.
We don't need to be lectured by you. You don't even know us.
The academics hated it, so she pushed the concept further. This was the beginning of a career that continues to be filled with what most would call feminist and sexually charged artworks.
There is a lot of subject matter that I've dealt with that makes people very uncomfortable, particularly those people who are invested in the kind of meaningless art that has been promoted by the ever more money-driven art industry.
What did he just say?
In a male-dominated area, she continues to pictorially battle for what she believes in. In short, she refuses to downplay her role in what some might call man's society, and by doing this she builds up and creates an evolution of projects that often orbit around a unifying subject matter. Many works are large presentations that communicate her perspective of a wide range of issues. These projects have included the Birth Project in 1984, Power Play in the 1980s, the Holocaust Project in 93, her Stitch in Time project in the 2000s, as well as Into the Darkness in the 2010s. Judy Chicago's most recent series, The End, was unveiled in 2019.
Do you not read People magazine? You don't know what's up?
Perhaps her most known project and first really major work was The Dinner Party. Because this project was so complex, she completes the project by collaborations with other artists and skilled craftspeople who can assemble the multiple parts that go into any one project. Now, these people could do a wide range of things. In this case, they would help make everything from embroidered placemats to the personalized china dinnerware, the triangular platform, and so on and so forth.
There was research, there was graphics, there was, it crossed media, it crossed masculine and feminine areas, like people always talk about the china painting and the needlework. But, the structure of the dinner party, the floor, the parts of the floor, all of that was designed in collaboration with an industrial designer, a guy named Ken Gilliam. It's like funny because, the men get erased from the dinner party.
The dinner party represents a figurative banquet centering on the idea of the woman's struggle for power and acceptance in the world. Along the 48-foot-long triangular table, there are 39 place settings that are personalized for different important females throughout time. At the first table, these women represent the beginning of time. These women include the primordial goddess, fertility goddess Ishtar, Kali, snake goddess, Sophia, Amazon, Hatshepsut, Judith, Sappho, Aspasia, Boadicea, and Hypatia. At the second table represents a period from Christianity to the Reformation, including Marcella, Saint Bridget, Theodora, Heratzvitza, Tratula, Eleanor of Aquitaine, Hildegard of Bingen, Petronilla de Metz, Christine de Piston, Isabel d'Este, Elizabeth I of England, Artemisia Gentileschi, Anna van Sherman, and the third table included women from the American founders to the Woman's Revolution. They included Anne Hutchinson, Sacagawea, Caroline Herschel, Mary Wollstonecraft, Sojourner Truth, Susan B. Anthony, Elizabeth Blackwell, Emily Dickinson, Ethel Smythe, Margaret Sanger, Natalie Barney, Virginia Woolf, Georgia O'Keeffe, and another 999 women have their names inscribed on the white tile floor inside the table. Now those women include Amelia Earhart, Bertha Morisot, Cleopatra, Dorothea Lange, Harriet Tubman, Frida Kahlo, Juno, Mary Cassatt, Augusta Savage, and some 990 some plus others.
I wonder what people like about me.
Now, Chicago has written multiple books about her projects, not to mention many others that have written books about her projects, but at any rate, she has received many accolades for her continued work, and she has given back to larger society by contributing to the next generation as an educator. She has worked at numerous universities, including the California Institute of the Arts, Indiana University, Duke University, and Western Kentucky University.
Now clear your minds.
She currently lives and works in a relatively small town in New Mexico, kind of like Georgia O'Keeffe before her. Now, one of the major topics of conversation, and some debate maybe, that Judy Chicago sort of brings to the art table of conversation is really a consideration of artists being represented in museums and gallery spaces, and how points of view being represented at museums are underserved by a female and minority voice. Chicago suggests that there should be an equality on the perspectives presented and represented within the museums in our various major museums across the country, perhaps across the world. But she does bring up a valid point. Having a sole perspective of a white male throughout an entire museum is really, it's kind of an echo chamber. Or should it be more about quality rather than inclusion? As an educator, I believe, the more voices that we are able to hear, the more inclusive things like this are, the better educational tools we have, the better experience the viewer's going to have, and it truly would be a benefit to most parties involved to include a wider range of voices in the mix.
This is ridiculous. It's crazy. I feel like I'm babysitting, except I'm not getting paid.
For over 5 decades, Judy Chicago has had a commitment to storytelling, social change, and really an engagement with women's rights that has really furthered the cause. Now, I don't know this for sure, but she may very well be one of the members of the Guerrilla Girls. Because they're all anonymous, we really don't know. Time will tell, perhaps. Maybe we'll find out someday. But basically, the Guerrilla Girls are a feminist, artist activist group that wear gorilla masks in public to have an anonymous interaction with the public and have really brought to light lots of things in politics, art, film, pop culture. But they really got their start in the visual arts with the beef they had with the Museum of Modern Art in New York and the number of female exhibitors they have. The artwork included was largely created by men, but primarily focused on nude women, and really break down the statistics and the numbers of really what it takes to be included in the arts, but also really calling out the corporate billionaires and things like that that are making the art seem really click.
I think one of the reasons people have so much trouble figuring out how to describe the Dinner Party Studio and my other large collaborative projects is that it's an unfamiliar model. The studio was structured according to feminist principles. What does that mean? It means every voice is important. The ideal world, men and women and people of all gender determination, race, religion, ethnicity, geography, living on the planet together in peace, harmony, and justice, and the same for other species, having the right to live their species' lives unimpeded. As long as the Museum of Modern Art is basically the Museum of Men's Art, with a few women and artists of color added on for salt and pepper, there is a burning need, not only for the National Museum of Women in the Arts, but for other institutions dedicated to preserving women's culture.
And I don't know, I for one am kind of curious because their ideas are very much in alignment, very much in tune, but who knows? What do I know? I color for a living. She may or may not be, but it's an interesting idea.
She's an interesting individual. I love that story. Thanks for letting me share it with you today.
We go on riverboat gambling trips. We make our own beef jerky. That's what we do. And now that is all wrecked.